background check, you can tell me none. Boss mode in effect, and my money long. If you ain't talking money, don't talk to me. I'll be over here. Music.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 33 of Paranormal Addicts podcast. My guests this week are Rob and Maria Murphy. As you see, I'm solo, at least for now. So, I don't know if we have a time management issue or what we got going on there. But anyway, so we'll start out like we always do, Rob and Marie. Just introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them who you are, and then we'll get rolling.
I'm Marie Murphy. I'm married to Robert Murphy, and we're paranormal investigators, paranormal equipment builders. He's been at it for a while. I'm a newbie.
Which is it brings a really good point to it. Again, I'm Robert Murphy, founder of Elite Paranormal Society. It's a team I established almost 20 years ago. It's been around for quite a while. We have a site that we build equipment, as she said, and that's on our Etsy page. So it's 24elite.etsy.com. Our background, she's had experiences. Beth just jumped on. Hey, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
Marie's had grown up with experience, as have I, which is fantastic. Oh, is that Chris jumping on?
Yep.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
What's up, Chris?
Hello.
All right. So
since she's been with me for 2 years, she's been into actually investigating and building. And then I've got, of course, almost 30 years, 25, 30 years, whatever. Doesn't matter really what the time frame is. It matter what you learn.
So, you were talking about the equipment building thing. So I've actually got a few of your pieces bookmarked. So first of the month, I'm actually ordering a couple pieces from you guys. I can't wait to try them out, because the way I do equipment, to me, everybody, no matter who the equipment is, whether it's you guys' or Rob from Ghost Scare, anybody's equipment. So what people have to understand is, for the most part, none of the equipment that we have in the field was originally designed for that purpose. Somebody smarter than me looked at this piece of equipment and it's like, this will work in the paranormal field. So they adopted it to the field. So whenever I get a new piece of equipment, I take it upon myself to actually learn the piece of equipment, learn its strengths, learn its weaknesses, find out false positives, anything like that. And I actually use it for at least 3 investigations before I officially add it to my toolkit. So that's how I do it. So I applaud anybody that does build equipment. I've tried to, or a couple of times. I do build. The only thing I do build is I do the trip wires. Yeah. And the reason I build those is because if you go to Go Stop or any place like that, they sell them for like $200. And I'm a Western Kentucky guy, so I don't have a whole lot of money, so I can build them and sell them to people for $60 and still make a little bit of a profit. So that's why I build those. If I can, to me, if I can buy my equipment from somebody like you guys, that's the best way to do it, because you guys are investigators. So I know that they're actually designed for that purpose. So it's not like some companies that's just in there for the money. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The best part is, when we go to vendor shows, so that people can actually, we even have we have actually a shop up at Wildwood up in New York. So people can actually use the gear and decide if they like it or not.
Yep.
Which is, that to me is the best. So you can see. But to your point, it's such a miss because so many people don't take the time to learn the equipment. They get it and they go investigate that weekend. Yeah. And God bless them. I know they want it. They're excited, and that's great. But you don't want those false positives. I don't want them to have false positives. I want them to have credible evidence. You know what I mean? Exactly. And again, it's even no matter what your equipment is. I don't know if you got a chance to see, obviously, Denise and Ernie Pac-Man.
Yeah, I saw that. That was, yeah.
The video they have where we sent in, matter of fact, we have one of them. And all it was, it's just, again, it's a hospitality bell. It's made into a REM pod. So anything gets close to it, Anything gets close to it, it set the lights off, and it's got noise to it too if it want. But
That's one of the things I'm ordering. So
This one is fine.
well, in their location, because I'm not expecting, and typically, you know, equipment, having a trigger object, as you know, is extremely, it adds the value. We want something they can recognize, like the lantern and stuff like that. It's one thing for them to put their energy close to it and make it light up. But if something can physically, if you're doing an investigation and you catch it live where you hear it, you know something physically had to move that down to make that sound. So it adds another layer too, which is really, well, Denise and Ernie have such an active location. You know, they pulled it out of the box and within 10 minutes, they already had action before they even did the video. That was like 4 days later. So I'm kind of curious to see what they get for something like that. And we have several of them down here, and I've heard the bell twice go off early in the morning. So to me, that was just like, get out of here. That's so cool.
Well, you know, you're talking about when you set up, you know, as vendors and stuff, you know, you guys are definitely welcome if you want to travel to my part of Kentucky. You know, I host a big Paracon every year. Rob and Sarah is actually speaking this year. So it's September 27th and 28th. So yeah, but it's on National Ghost Hunting Day. So, but yeah, so you guys are definitely welcome to come and be vendors. You can even be featured vendors. I'll even give you the Get Hunted discount because we'll get hunted brothers, you know. So anyway, this and sister, brother and sister. So let's move on to the questions. So everybody's saying hi everybody. So we always start out with you know, 2 icebreaker questions just to get things going. You know, we don't really need them today because we're already going, but we'll do it anyway because that's how it goes. So the first icebreaker question is, what is your favorite location, and what is your bucket list location?
Oh my God!
What is your favorite location you investigated, and what is your bucket list?
What's your favorite location?
I love Wildwood. Wildwood Sanitarium that's in New York. I'm not sure what part. I love that place. I connect with the spirits there. They're very active, too active actually. We couldn't barely sleep.
Well, and it was a friendly location. Yeah, you felt very comfortable friendly. With it.
Our daughter loved it. Our 8-year-old went with us, and she loved it. The spirits.
That's the one where you had your sweater getting pulled while we're live.
On my bucket list is definitely the Ditto. Oh my gosh, the Ditto House. Oh man, I want to go so many different places.
Denise and Ernie have the Ditto House, the real original Ditto
the
House. The
amusement park that's actually here in West Virginia that's haunted. I don't know the name of it. That one I want to go to. I want to go to the penitentiary that's here. And there's so many different places I want to go. Oh my gosh. Penhurst. I haven't even been to Penhurst.
We guys ought to get together and do the Ditto House together. You know, they've opened it up one day a month. So you know, I'm in Kentucky with any of them. I'm 4 hours away, but I'm still in Kentucky. So yeah, we ought to schedule that. Just meet there and do it. That would be a good investigation.
On the bucket list.
I mean, honestly, they have the trifecta. They have everything going on besides just, you know, I've always been more focused on, in the paranormal field, I'm more focused on ghosts, spirits, people with abilities, you know, that interaction. So to add the squash to it, to add the UFOs to it, I mean, my gosh, they have everything going on down there. So it's on the hot.
Definitely.
That's definitely the hottest one.
I've already had the spirits and UFO and extraterrestrial activity. I want to experience the Sasquatch.
I'm a little different as far as, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that part. The only other part is I treat a lot of residential, so I like residential because I like the activity. I like when things are going crazy. To me, it makes it fun. So
I want to investigate. I want to investigate Trans-Allegheny.
Go ahead, Chris.
That's the one. Is that the penitentiary that's here?
Yeah, I want to investigate.
That's it.
I want to investigate that, but it's a lot of money.
Chris, you're down to a point where it's just your glass.
Yeah.
You look like a robot in the back. As far as, like you're demonic coming out. If his screen was red, it would be awesome.
Gosh, that's scary.
In the name of Jesus, I'm a man. Anyway,
but yeah, I do want to investigate Trans-Allegheny.
That's the one. I couldn't think of the name of it. Yeah, that's the one.
Because,
so,
but the problem is that place is a lot of money to do investigation.
Yeah.
so my bucket list location is actually a place that everybody's surprised I've never been. Is my bucket list location is Pinhurst, and I'm actually going to go next year. But that's my bucket list. My favorite location is really hard to say because like we do residentials too, and for me, your residential is just different because you're there to help somebody. So that's a feeling that you can't reap. Most people think my favorite place should be Waverly Hills because it's Waverly Hills, and I've actually investigated Waverly Hills a half a dozen times, and I've had mixed results, good and bad. The first time I investigated was in 99 was in 99, and bless you, and it was we were one of the first people to even investigate it. I was living in Indiana at the time. That's back in my pro MMA days. So I was fighting out of Louisville and living in Indiana, so we investigated, and it was crazy active. It was so active you didn't even have to ask questions. You could just see the spirits walking down the hallway, and now it's became such almost like a tourist attraction, and I don't think the spirits like it, so they're not as active as they used to be. So it's still a good location. I'm not downing no location. The only location that you'll ever hear me say anything bad about is the Conjuring House, and other than that, we're good. So question number 2, the Conjuring House. Question number 2: what is your favorite piece of equipment? And you can't say yourself. What is your favorite piece of equipment?
I love recorder because I like catching EVPs, and that's probably in my mind is the hardest thing to debunk.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way. I mean, recorder is definitely the number one to be able to hear and capture a voice or something and not just something random. I mean, that's one thing, but when you capture something that actually interacts, especially if we're doing it live, and it might even be a record, a voice that you catch while you're live. To me, it's phenomenal. So I'm the same way. Definitely a digital recorder. Yeah. Well, I use multiple digital recorders. I ain't sticking to one.
The recorder is an essential piece of equipment. Yeah. So my team is a large paranormal team. We have 17 active members on my team.
Nice.
Wow.
But you can't just say, "Hey, Kent, I'm interested in paranormal. I want to join Kent 10 Paranormal." It doesn't work that way. I guess I can say this now, Rob. I'm an expert in this field, so I'm not just going to let somebody tag along. So, thank you. So,
somebody. Glad to hear it.
So if somebody comes up to me or I have 2 team leads that help me. I have 17 people, so I need help. So if somebody comes up and says, "I'm interested in joining Ken 10 Paranormal," the first thing we do it like an interview process. So me and one of the team leads meets the candidate at like Wendy's. I don't know why Wendy's, because I don't like Wendy's, but that's where we go is Wendy's. So we go to Wendy's and we meet the person. We talk to them. We actually have like a application that we fill out. And then the next step is they have to come to our next team meeting. We have a team meeting every month. And they have to come to the next team meeting. And at the team meeting, we actually do an orientation. And, and so we do the orientation. And then after the orientation, they actually go into training, because I want to make sure they know what they're doing and they're doing it the right way. I don't want them provoking. I don't want them faking, so all that stuff. So they go into training. That's a long way to say. So whenever they go through orientation, we require everybody to have 3 pieces of equipment when they start. They have to have a flashlight, a voice recorder, and that's pretty much it. As long as they have those 2 pieces of equipment, everything else they can get along. Because like I tell them, I don't want you to go out and buy an $800 Ovilus for your first investigation. And first of all, you don't know how to use it. Second of all, you don't even know if you're actually going to like it. Third of all, I'm not really an Ovilus fan, but that's beside the point. A voice recorder. A voice recorder is definitely an essential piece of equipment.
I'm
My
the type.
favorite piece of equipment.
I'm the type of person. Whatever I catch, I don't catch anything. Oh well. So.
Well,
it's
what do you
whatever
like
comes.
to use? Chris, what is your go-to piece of equipment, regardless, anything across the board besides yourself? What is your go-to?
Mostly K2 meters.
Okay. Okay.
Because I enjoy lights and ghost like lights and
100%.
so
Right.
anything that connects with them that they like,
Sure.
and I can feel their energy, and I don't really, I can feel energy in the buildings, all the buildings, so I'm good. I have a REM pod, and so
As an investigator, especially for those that have
So,
ability, which is really
Just-
important.
hang on. What?
Like for anybody that has abilities, as an investigator, especially having somebody on your team with abilities is phenomenal. But
Mhm.
what's more is when you can confirm what that person is picking up on
Mhm.
with a piece of equipment, especially a digital recorder. If they're talking about there being a child here and all of a sudden you're catching a child's voice, holy smokes, it adds complete credibility to the individual with the ability. They said, hey, it's a little boy right here. And you start role playing, trying to talk to this little boy, and you catch that voice. That's phenomenal.
But what I have is an app. I use the Spirit Talker app.
I have
That's
that.
very
I
popular.
use that.
That's very popular.
So I use that a lot.
So,
And a necrophonic.
so, so my go-to piece of equipment changes from time to time, I guess, because one thing. So with my team, when we investigate, we're kind of a hybrid team. This will be my next question, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it now. So we're kind of a hybrid team. We use the old school stuff. We still use the rods, the pendulum, and all that stuff. But we have all the fancy new equipment too. So we kind of use them both. The way I put it on our Facebook page is we use old school style with new school technology. So anyway, my favorite piece of equipment to use right now, kind of because it's new, is the Apple box. From Ghost Gear. I've only been able to use it for one investigation, but my big thing is I like it. I like it when I have like two pieces of equipment give me the same piece of evidence. So I have my voice recorder, with my Paratech, and so so that to me, I always try to debunk, if you want to use that word. I always try to debunk something before I say it's evidence. For example, we was at Octagon Hall, here in Franklin, Kentucky, we were doing a EVP session in the basement in the library, and I look up, something tells me to look up, and I look up and I capture with my eyes what looks like it is a shadow figure pacing in front of the staircase, just walking back and forth. So,
Like stairs.
so I get up from the EVP session immediately, and I start trying to debunk it, see if maybe the light from the road, because it's in the middle of nowhere, so there's no light from the road, but I start looking for whatever, seeing if I can debunk it, and I even got it on video. I never could debunk it, so that's at that point it became a piece of evidence, because I captured it with my eyes and on video and everything. So so the next question is, what style do you guys use in your investigation? Are you a scientific team, or you a old school team, or you a hybrid team? Just how do you guys investigate?
Very much like what you're talking about as well. Definitely a lot of old school, and again, still learn. No matter how long I've been in this, we've been in this. It's still, you have to keep that mentality open to be willing to learn. Paranormal Inc. They showed me. I thought I could debunk it in a heartbeat. It's two pencils. You put them on top of each other. Have you ever seen that before? And again, this is going back to old school. And we're looking at Richard. Thanks for being on. Mark, thanks.
Hi, Mark.
When you're talking old school, it's no different. Flashlights to me is a big deal. I love flashlights. I definitely are very big into it. But when you can use something, whether it's a compass or anything else, and see if you get any type of reaction out of it, it's pretty phenomenal. But just two simple pencils, putting them on top of each other.
Yeah.
At first, I think, whatever, wind, we were at a location.
Yeah.
Boy, when that thing can actually spin around and point right to an individual, and which happened multiple times as far as I actually move locations, because I'm an observer.
Yeah.
It's okay when we're investigating and something happens, something falls down, you go, oh yes, I'm thinking, hey, we got something. But to your point, then you got to back up and go, hold on, was it when I was walking? Did the vibration?
The best part is I got it on video.
Yes,
that was
pencils.
because a lot of times you don't you miss the best part. It's like, damn.
It's
I gotta start investigating Gettysburg. I haven't investigated Gettysburg yet.
Gettysburg?
Yeah, I gotta investigate that place.
There's activity all over.
It really, there's activity. It's like people will say, well, you're lucky to ever get if you catch anything at any location, it's rare to catch anything. And it's not, to me, quite honestly. Most people, number one, like when you're doing for EVPs and ITCs, most people haven't trained their hearing, haven't learned how to hear it in the first place. So when somebody plays a clip on TV, they go, oh yeah, because the person's saying what it's saying. How many times have you watched? It goes, oh my God, it just said a demon's coming, or a demon. And instead of it being,
here we go.
You got, and then, oh my God, did you hear that? It says a demon's going to get Kevin. It's like, what are you talking about? They just haven't learned to listen for, quite honestly. A lot of people say, well, I've never heard.
On that point, Rob, one of my best friend, or at least my oldest friend in the paranormal field, is Gavin Kelly. Gavin, is kind of a para-celebrity or whatever. But Gavin actually wrote a book on that exact subject, over how much is actually evidence and how much is actually, or what they said it's a demon coming, so that's what it is. So how much it is actually perception, and so that's a very good point. So.
It's easy for us to plant seeds in somebody's mind. If we turn around and tell you what we're going to play and what it's going to say, you're listening for it. You're making it out. So it's all audible pareidolia, just like our eyes. You get these pictures. How many? I went to college for photography. By all means, I know a lot of how things work when it comes to the photography side of it. And the more you blow it up, our minds, we're all susceptible to it. Our minds can play those tricks on us as far as your brain is trying to go ahead and make sense out of what it's seeing. Same thing can happen with sounds. How many times does somebody say something, you're like, what did you just say? Thinking you heard it differently than what they said it. So if it's going to happen like that, now you're doing it. Marie's been probably one of the only people, there's not too many people that really sit down and take the time. I used to have a couple of my team members. I had 15 at one point. So I had a large team like yourself at one point. And what I would do is I would use split headphones. They would have headphones. I'd have headphones. They're going into the same, so we could actually listen to it play with headphones. You take a piece of paper, and what you're doing first is you're trying to figure out, okay, how many words? Say it's 2 words. So you make a line for one word, line for the second word. And trying to teach people how many syllables are in the first word. Yeah. That's so important. When you start, you got to break it down and listen for that. Yes. And then you can start making out. Does somebody... And the guy...
He taught me how to do it. I can't believe I'm pretty good at it.
Some of the things that would come out of other people, because you don't tell them at first. You write down what you're hearing. They're writing down what they're hearing. And you look and you're like, no, it had nothing to do with an elephant and a Ford truck. I mean, it's like, nah, what in the world are you... Some people just, they can't, and they'll never get it. Some will never get it. Some are fantastic. They can pick that stuff up.
And one thing I always said, is, like we discussed, and like Chris, like all of us already know, I've always had that ability. And, my thing is, I think as kids, almost everybody has it. But for whatever reason, as we grow older, I don't know if it's because we're told, it's not real, or because, or whatever reason, most people lose it. But, what I tell people, what I've came to figure out in the years that I've been doing this, when you start investigating, the more you get into it, you develop at least a sixth sense again, where you can feel it, you can hear it. You might have to fine tune it, but there's still you get that ability back. And that's my number one thing I tell everybody. When you're getting into the field, or whether you've been in here a long time, like me and you, Rob, trust your instincts. If you're in a location and you have a feeling to set your REM pod and your voice recorder on the space, do it. If you have a feeling that you should leave the location, you should probably leave the location. Just trust your instincts. So
I agree with that 100%.
I trust my instincts, but what if I want to stay there and find out, see what happens?
Yeah.
Well,
Then
you just
find
have to
out.
look. Honestly,
So
and go ahead.
there you
I'm
go.
not. I'm not scared. If anything happens,
So
it happens. So I want to stay
so
and find out.
my
It's
my thing
it's all
is
it's hang on,
out of
hang on,
respect to the location.
hang on 1 second, Kent. But my thing is with the paranormal. My job is to find out why they're there. I'm not there to run. I'm there to investigate why they're there. So you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm coming at?
Yes, and as I was saying, out of respect to the location, the spirits, and the living and unliving, you know, you have to respect them. So my thing is, like Chris said, my rule is if a spirit tells me to leave the first time, I don't leave because, like Chris said, I'm there to find answers, to help, whatever. So, but once the spirit, if I get told to leave 3 times, that's my rule. That 3 times I leave out of respect. Otherwise it's being disrespectful. The spirit chooses who they communicate to. So if they're communicating with me, I'm thankful for that and I'm respectful for it. So I don't want to overstay my thing, especially if it's a malicious one, because overstaying it may be dangerous. So yeah, that's my take. What's your take?
What?
With as far as with that, I mean, number one, safety really it comes back to safety. Safety should still be number one, and you obviously want to be respectful. I get it. We don't want people just if it's is this a residential location or is it just a public location? Because how you react to something makes a difference for that client or family by far. That's right. Huge. At the same time, you got to know your limitations. We all have inside of us, we got that little trigger that tells us, oh, when you honestly are in the face of evil, I mean, true evil, when it's something negative, there's a spot inside of you that will tell you. And if you're not sure, you've done lost. And that's going to put you in harm's way as well as the client or whatnot. That's not going to help you. I had this one guy, he's well known, but I went down to several states away to go ahead and help him with the house. We go into the house and he's like, yeah, I was here, I had to leave the house. I was here by myself and I have to leave 15 times one night because it was so bad. But what the hell are you doing there?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not for you at that point. At that point, it's out of your hands. Maybe if you had somebody with you, again, there's got to be a safety factor. And God bless her. Again, hey, respect for anybody that wants to put yourself through it, but just be careful and know your limitations because we all have limitations. And then for you, Chris, I'm throwing you on the spot right now, and you don't have to answer. It's if something does happen to you and the people around you notice, oh my gosh, your personality is completely off the charts, definitely different. There's something wrong with you because you won't necessarily notice it yourself. Who you're reaching out to, and everybody has to have that in their head that's going to do this for real. It's one thing when you go to a paid location, there's so many people that have been there. The chances of you having an issue, pretty nil, besides most of it is, let's be real, probably 70 or 80% of it's hype in your head when you freak yourself out of a location. But when something truly does happen, know somebody that you can call on, or contact to help you out with it. We all need to have that. None of us are Superman, I'm sorry, or women, super women. Again, we all have a trigger that can be pulled on us. So it just be careful of it. I put that out to everybody.
And then some people do crazy things too, just like run into it like
I'm going to tell you something. When I was at Ledgeworth, this was like my third or second time being there. I went inside a building. I was doing like investigation. My dad was exploring the place. So there's this one room that is very active, like very active. I was using the necrophonic, and all of a sudden I asked, "What did the doctor do to you?" I said, "What did the doctor do to you?" And it said, "Evil." And then I said, "Oh, time to go. Bye."
But again, look, if I get to the other side, I'm going to scare the daylights out of people. I'm going to have so much.
My hands actually started tingling No
well,
joke.
see, you also have abilities too, so you can kind of pick up when you know. Not everybody has that, so that's to your advantage. That you can really tell when it's something really bad.
Yeah. I said, I told my dad, I said, time to go. Let's get out of here. I'm not going.
You were probably picking up on something.
I'm not sticking around to find out.
Just know your limits, and you're that inside.
Hey, Marty.
So here's my safety story, Rob. So we were investigating this location. It's they don't even allow investigations anymore because that's how violent and haunted it is. They actually shut it down for 3 years, and they reopened it last year for like 6 months, and now it's closed again. They don't allow it all. So we were the second team.
No.
We were the second team to go to investigate it when they reopened it. It's called the Anderson Hotel. Let me start off with saying calling it a hotel is being nice. It's a transit hotel.
Can you get us in there?
So we get there, and we're doing the tour and thing. The first thing to note is obvious that they want it to be like that. They want it to be malicious. So there's 5 confirmed deaths, murder, suicides there. I'm talking about confirmed by coroner reports, police reports, newspaper. So confirmed.
5 different murder, suicide?
Of the confirmed death, suicides there, they still have 2 of the bloodstained mattresses from suicides. They still have the bloodstained. They still have the bloodstained bathtub from the suicide. And then one of the other famous rooms, the guy lived there, and he was alcoholic, and he ran prostitutes in and out of there. He got drunk and hung himself in the closet. All of his liquor bottles are still there. So they want it to be that way. Okay, so then it gets even worse. Because while it's shut down, they decide they're going to operate it as a haunted attraction. Well, somebody decided it'd be cool if they wrote voodoo symbols all over the one room. With the voodoo symbol, they decided this is the part about you have to be educated in this field. You have to know what you're doing. You have to keep learning and reading stuff. So whoever did the voodoo symbols they just picked one that looked neat, and the one that they drew on the wall was the symbol of opening up the hell, opening up the dark side. So we get there and we're doing the tour, and the first thing we decide to do is we decide to investigate the room with the mother. She was a 36-year-old mother. She checked in and committed suicide in the bathtub because her husband and child had just got killed in a car wreck. So that was her response. And like I said, they still have the bloodstained bathtub there. Well, like I said, I'm all about respect. So I asked, and we're filming and audio recording everything at this time. At this point, we're still all together as a team. We haven't separated yet. So I asked permission to get in the bathtub. And it's an old-fashioned bathtub, one of the core feet bathtubs, So I asked permission to get in there, and I get yes and no. I'm like, I can't do yes and no. So I get in there, and I start doing a regular, EVP session. We're getting answers. It's going okay. Well, I get out comes across, and I'm like I said, I'm like, well, I was like, I'm not going to get out yet. I was like, we're having a good conversation. I appreciate it. So I asked a couple more questions. I get out again, same thing. So I get when I finally get the third get out, I'm like, okay, that's my rule. So I try to get out of the bathtub, and like I said, it's the coffee one. So I have to grab a hold of both sides and I pull myself out. And as I'm pulling myself out, I feel what feels like a really deep Indian burn on my calf. Well, the claim to the Anderson is the spirit's bite. So, and I was like, I don't believe, I wanted to call bullshit on that because I've been around a long time, and I've been pushed, I've been scratched, I've had things tossed at me, but biting, that's a whole new thing. That's a lot of energy. So anyway, when we finally get back to our makeshift base, when we have electricity and light, we look at my calf, and I have what looks like a double bite on my calf. Matter of fact, I got a tattoo of it, so I permanently have it on my leg.
That's cool.
So then we go to the next famous room, which this is the one that intrigues me even to this day because there's so much unknown about this entity. It's a little girl. She was 19, and she traveled all the way from Michigan to this little town in Kentucky and checked into this hotel. And like I said, it's a transit hotel. We're not talking about like the Marriott or even the Holiday Inn. This is so she checks into this hotel and she's searching for answers. So she starts drawing Bible pictures and writing Bible verses with a crayon. Don't know why a crayon, but that's what they are. And all of her pictures are still hanging on the room. She killed herself by slashing her wrist, and her bloodstained mattress is still there. So anyway, she doesn't like guys. So she didn't communicate with me and Dennis very much. So the only thing that we kind of got, that we kind of figured out from research and the evidence that we got there is we figured like something happened in Michigan, her heart got broke, and she relocated to Kentucky for answers. So anyway, so then the next famous room is they call it the Blue Room, and that's where the guy lived and ran prostitutes and committed suicide by hanging in the closet. Well, the first thing that we did, even during the tour, was me being me. I decided to climb into the closet to see if I could get anything. Well, as soon as I climbed into the closet, all my energy was drained and I slammed to the ground. My team had to pull me out of the closet. So while the girls are down in the suicide room, me and Dennis are up there, and it wasn't a very good interaction. So when it was time to switch, we rotate every hour and we rotate every hour and a half. So when it was time to switch, I radio back to the females, and I'm like, I know you're going to come up to the Blue Room next. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm like, as your lead investigator, I'm obligated to let you know this spirit does not like females. I'm like, I know that's not going to deter you, but I'm like, I was like, I'm going to warn you. So they get up there. My niece is on my team, and at that time she was 19, and so she gets up there, and they decide to use the prostitute angle to get the conversation going. So she's up there and she's like, well, I'm 19 and cute. Can I get a job? And we captured a Class A EVP. I still got it to this day. And it said $50 and free room.
Wow.
So then they get. I'll send it to you guys, and I'll send you the picture of my bite too, because I still have the actual picture, not just a tattoo. So the girls continued on, and long story short, the spirit ended up grabbing Tiffany, who's one of my team leads. She's been investigating for 16 years. So the ghost grabbed Tiffany by her private area.
Oh my.
Is that a polite way to put it? And at that point, it was a safety issue, so we ended the investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, because like you said, it's safety first. So
it's hard when you go to a location. You got a lot of bodies. There's a lot as you running a team. You're responsible for them. You really want to look out for them. You'd feel horrible if something happens to them. So, good choice. I mean, that was the right thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. I still
we actually went back a year after, and and the girls even went back. I was like, and my thing is when my team investigates a location, I want to make sure it's a controlled investigation. I don't want a whole lot of outside interference.
Right.
So that's the reason we do the hour and a half rotation. That way, especially if it's like a location with 2 or 3 floors, we know that there's 4 people on the first floor, there's 4 people on the second floor, and like you said earlier, that way if we hear footsteps, we're like maybe they're moving on, so we radio down, because we have the special radios that don't interfere with anything, so we radio down, that was anybody moving, so yeah, so
that's a good way to
So next question, guys, that I ask everybody. So we've already talked about it a little bit, but pre-show. But how do you guys think the para-pop culture? That's my word, para-pop culture. How do you think the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field? both negatively and positively. Just how do you guys think it's affected it?
In my opinion, I think it's put more light on it, like and made it more acceptable for people to, come forward with their experiences with ghosts. But all this stuff on TV, you see, most of it's fake. I hate to say it, a lot of it, and it's just I don't like that part.
Yeah, I think it removed the stigma. The original shows when they first came on, there was three main ones that first came on, and when they were first couple of seasons being nice and it opened the door, it opened people's mind.
Yeah.
And you had to kind of see, is this going to be a fad? Like something's come in and it goes through for 5, 6, 8 years and it goes away. It's obviously not a fad. A lot more people opened up to it, which is great. To your point, when you're talking about abilities, typically most people our age, whatever, you wouldn't have had anybody around that would have worked with you when you realize you had abilities. You had to also be kind of careful because for us, it wasn't that long ago. They put you in a little wonderful white room, on that special level of the hospital. So
yeah,
it's great to see things change, but to the degree that it's changed too, with the lack of integrity, the lack of respect overall for this field, because it makes a lot of people not understand. And that's why there's so many calls for help, because there's so many people don't really realize what they're getting into. Yeah. It's a great field. You can have a blast by far. There's ways of going to these paid locations or locations in general and being safe about it. But when they look at what they watch on TV and then they try to cookie cutter it out in real life, it doesn't really turn out the same way.
And another thing I hate about it is that they try to demonize everything. Everything has got to be a demon. And it's like, what?
Really? Pendulums are demonic, dowsing rods, tarot cards are demonic. And it's like witchcraft is demonic. That's so much, it's so uneducated. I ended up writing some books because of it. Honestly, it's inspired me to write some books because it was like, man, there's such a misperception of what's going on.
Yes.
We got to talking about, and that's before we even started the live, you were talking about, well, there's no experts. And that was the mentality that we all have.
Yeah.
So what I brought up to you was, okay, if you have a heart issue, you could just go to your general doctor, or you go to a specialist.
Yes, Beth, haunted dolls are overrated.
What really is the difference between a specialist and an expert? Somebody who's put a lot of time in, but they're still learning.
Yes.
We do have people in this field that definitely know what they're talking about, and we've got a lot of people, unfortunately, that really have no idea, and they're the ones that are putting more of the information out there, which is a shame. To Beth's point, all these haunted dolls. I mean, there's another one to see what has just risen over the past year or two.
This and the tables hipping, these haunted tables. I'm sorry.
We'll actually get to that in a minute.
Hang on. Have you guys saw Help My House is Haunted?
Probably. Have we seen that? Is that a movie or a show?
No, it's a TV show. It's a really good show. It's a real paranormal. It's real.
We watch very few of them. The one we were watching was a haunting. You got to watching a little bit, and then watching just how.
Yeah, I got mad because of the tarot cards and.
But Help My House is Haunted is actually a real paranormal investigation.
But can you name 9 other shows that are supposed to be paranormal? Heartbeat. Yeah. I mean,
let me see.
They're all supposed to be real.
I'm not asking you to honestly name 9. I'm just saying there's very few good ones out there.
Let's not mention too many shows. So my thing with the para pop culture is like we discussed earlier, and like we all know, I grew up with these abilities, and I grew up not only in the Bible Belt, but I grew up in the heart of the Bible Belt. I mean, so we have more churches per capita than we have people per capita. So, that's what I grew up in. So, a lot of closed-minded people growing up, especially, in the 80s and 90s, I was told a lot that, I had to worship the devil and I must be going to hell and all that stuff. So, like you said, especially the first set of shows, Ghost Hunters, those shows, that opened up the conversation. So, I still get some of the, you must go, be a different way, but I get a lot more of the, oh, you mean like taps, or, you mean like, so at least, like you said, at least it's opened up the conversation. Then we have the negative, like not all the YouTubers, but some of the YouTubers. There's legitimate YouTubers out there like Paranormal Theory, and other ones. Seeking Ghosts with A&L. There's some legitimate ones out there, but a lot of them like to drop the demon word all the time. I just like I say on the show all the time, I go, demon, demon, demon. I just got 500 more likes, so that's what it's about for them. So, Sarah actually explained to me, she actually put it the best way I've ever heard it. In the paranormal, unfortunately, for whatever reason, they're there for entertainment. So there is a reason, there is a place in the field for those people, but the people that's going to tune in to see those people are not the same ones that's going to tune in to see like me and you. They're not tuning in to see a real investigation. They're tuning in for shock value. So yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I know, Beth. That's yeah.
So the next question
I investigated with Seeking Ghosts with A&L. I'm good friends with them, and they are real paranormal investigators. They do real. They're real. They don't fake stuff. I know that.
Which is, and again, that's what this field needs to get to, is the get back into the integrity part. But how many people do? We know a popular person turns around and kicks the damn floor, the wall, the trim, and yet the guy's filming it, and they still put it in there because it's a hit show. Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, did you hear that?"
Not like Zach Bagans.
No, well, that one wasn't. That was Jack. But I mean, if you're going to do crap like that, unfortunately, people start associating this field with that.
Yeah.
You can't. We were on another talk, and it's very simple. Chris, when's the last time you've seen something positive on one of these shows? Positive, great, something good. Okay, you're thinking about it. All right, too long.
Right.
So I used to be a really
It all
big
depends.
fan.
It all actually it all depends. Basically,
I used to be a big fan. So I'm like you, Rob. I don't watch a lot of the shows because there's so much fake, and even the ones that are real. What people have to realize, like let's take Ghost Hunters for example, because I like Jason, but you see 30, 45 minutes on TV. They're actually on location for 3 days. They investigate for 3 days when they investigate. So you don't see the real investigation on TV. You see what the producers want you to see. We have to realize that. So I'm not a big.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead. My bad. Sorry, buddy.
You okay, Rob? So I don't watch a lot of the shows because there's so much that's not real on there. So, for example, we had Aaron G. Thompson on the show. I had Aaron G. Thompson at my Paracon. So most people only know Aaron G. Thompson because of 28 Days Haunted, which is sad because he's been investigating for 26 years. He's a legitimate investigator. But I didn't know that until I got to know him. I had never seen 28 Days Haunted. When he came time for him to be a guest on our show, I had to watch 28 Days Haunted just so I could see what it was, because I had never seen the show, because that's not real to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Which is sad because the concept, it was a good concept if they would have actually just let the people investigate instead. But anyway, so I don't watch a lot of shows. I did get where I was enjoying Ghost Brothers for a while because they seem to really investigate, and they also did the human side, showed them hanging out at the barbershop and all that stuff. So but what killed me on that was they were using their phone, which I'm not knocking apps. What people have to realize nowadays, your phones are just mini computers, so there's no reason why they're not capable of being useful. You just have to know how to use them. For example, your phone cannot be used as an EMF reader because your phone produces EMS. So
correct.
And that's what on this episode they were using it as EMF reader, and they actually made the comment we always do. And at that point, I'm like, well, I can't watch it anymore. So,
Yeah.
because like we discussed earlier, you have to understand how equipment uses. So I'm not knocking apps. You just have to, or any equipment, like we discussed earlier, you have to understand how any equipment works. So yeah. So with that being said, let's move on to the next question. Unless you got something to add, Rob. You got anything
Yeah,
to
just
add?
real quick, and that's what I want to go back to. It's like with Ghost Hunters, when I will give credit, and again, I think most of those, almost every show has changed because of the Hollywood influence. In all sincerity, I'm sorry, I'm not political. I don't care. There's plenty of shows I don't like, so I don't watch them. I'm just opinionated that way. But what other show, if you watch all those shows, everything became very cookie cut. Everybody's kind of doing the same thing. What other show besides, or who else besides Jason would go to an investigation? And it changed, unfortunately, later on. But when he first started out, he was one I can always remember would say, look, this is just our investigation. I can't say, we don't have enough evidence to say that it is haunted or it's not haunted or not active or is active. I thought that was the most legitimate statement I've heard out of anybody on TV. I don't care what all the other movies are. Yeah. For a person, it changes. Does it not change, Kent, when you go to a location? Chris could go to a location and get crazy evidence. You could go to the same location. It could be different. You could put women over at one location. It could be different as when it's men, correct?
That's true.
Sometimes you don't.
I say all the time, they're not trained monkeys. They're not trained monkeys, and they're not going to dance just because you want them to dance. And like I said earlier, they choose who they speak to. So if you go to a location and you're disrespectful, they're not going to talk to you. I tell people all the time, which we have to realize when we go to a location, we're really, if you really think about it, we're trespassing on their place. They were there first, so we need to be respectful.
Familiar.
You and Rob have got the same ideology.
I'm telling you,
your concepts are.
It overlaps.
I'm telling you, for the first time I ever talked to you, Rob, I felt a connection. Like we're like brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Very
so similar. Yeah. It's crazy. You're absolutely right. Just like the Get Outs. We all hear that. That was one of the most. When you first got your EVP, it says Get Out.
Yeah.
One, we don't know how hard it is for them to go ahead and create that voice. So it sounds scary to everybody. Yeah. If I talk real deep, it can make people go, what the hell's wrong with this guy, right? So when you get a voice like that, but again, when we go investigate, it's usually at night. We're going into somebody else's house, basically, if you really think of it openly. So are we not the trespassers, to your point that you were just saying? That's what we tell everybody all the time. So for them to say, get out, is that not reasonable? We could be scaring the hell out of them. It's not necessarily they're trying to say that to scare us. Right. Sometimes they're just they're in their area.
Yeah.
So very similar, man. We are so much.
You guys are very much so much alike.
Yes.
It's scary. So here's my next question. So we kind of talked about. So Beth kind of mentioned earlier. She talked about haunted dolls, and and we actually had, who was it, Chris? Was it Joe that was talking about? Joe Frankie was talking about how dolls can't be haunted. They can't be possessed. Spirits can manipulate them. They can move them. They can make them do stuff. But the actual doll, can't be. So that's my next question. What are you guys' take on an object, any object having attachments? Do you think an object can
haunted object?
My opinion is that dolls definitely can be possessed, because if you're a spirit and you have a particular doll, let's say it's a child, and for whatever reason the child is attached to that and the child passes away, I feel like that definitely could happen. But with all this table tipping and all these spirits being attached to like different items like that, no, I don't believe that at all. And definitely from going to the Warrens Museum, I can tell you for sure, dolls can be possessed, haunted, because I was affected.
Annabelle doll.
So
I think when we look at the word possession, it's a little bit different. But do I think that they can harbor an absolute energy? Absolutely. I absolutely. It's not the same as when we're treating a possessed individual or location. There's a difference to that. So it's kind of a skewed way of looking at it. We do that all the time. The whole field, it's like everything that's negative is demonic. And it's not.
When I first met Annabelle at the Warrens Museum in Daysburg, when I first met Annabelle, my whole body started tingling. Like it was trying to grab me.
I felt like
I see-
something was pressing on my neck.
It was starting to grab me. Like I said, Dad, we got to get away from this all. There's something wrong with this all. I said, because I'm not, keep going. I'm not staying here. So,
Ken, have you ever been around the NFL at all?
I went
So
back for a
I
second,
got,
and I had the same thing happen. So
I have a brick. I got it. I didn't steal the brick. I didn't. I have the brick legitimately. So I was investigating this location, and to help raise money for the location, they had a silent auction for one of the bricks that fell off the jail. Okay, so I have it. It may or may not be attached, but like I was saying, like Marie was saying, I think especially like a kid or something can attach to a toy, a doll, whatever. Possession, I don't think that's actually the right terminology, because for a possession, they have to have permission, and so an inanimate object can't grant permission. So like I said, not trying to act like I know more, because I don't, but coming from like a demonology training and stuff, some of the terminology is important. So that's kind of the difference between an attachment and a possession. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree that dolls, bricks, anything, toys can have an attachment to it, but only a living person can have an attachment, can have a possession, because you really have to grant permission. Whether it's, sometimes you can accidentally grant permission.
Yeah, I think
but, it still has to be. So here's my story of a haunted doll. So I was investigating this location in East Prairie, Missouri. It's a newer location. It's a haunted bed and breakfast. The owners are great people. They had us up there. They had a couple other teams, and we had a couple other teams, and they just wanted to get my team's opinion because of our reputation or whatever. So we get up there, and one of the things they have a haunted doll. Well, what's strange about this haunted doll is not original to the location. So this location is already active. The one team, the first team to investigate it, they decided it would be a good idea to travel from East Prairie, Missouri to New York to get a haunted doll to bring it back to a location that's already haunted.
wow, okay.
So we get. I don't even have a comment for that. So we're investigating, and none of my team wanted anything to do with the doll. So I ended up doing a solo session with the doll. So I'm setting up. So I have my REM pod set up on the piano next to it. I have a geophone. You guys know what a geophone is, don't you? They're not used that much anymore. So for the people in the peanut gallery, I'll explain it. A geophone is designed to pick up footprints, so pick up vibrations. And geophones do not go off for an accident. I mean, you have to like drop a geophone for like 5 feet to get it to go off an accident. So I set the geophone down. The door's in an old rocking chair. So I set the geophone next to the rocking chair. And I start using my Paratech VM5. So a Paratech VM5, for anybody you don't know, is ITC. So basically it's the same thing as the Oculus, but it's a lot better and a lot more reliable because it has 13 different settings that you can adapt. So it's not just random words coming out. It's actually, so I'm sitting there, my voice recorder, my Paratech and everything. So I'm recording it on video, and everything's going good. So I'm in that little hub, and the rest of the team is in the living room doing their own thing. So I get on the Paratech and on the voice recorder, I all of a sudden get, "I'm behind you." And as it says, "I'm behind you," the REM pod and the geophone start going off.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
That's the first time. That's the first time the geophone had ever went off for me. I've only had to go off twice ever. That was the first time. Well, it gets better. So while all that's going on, for whatever reason, Savannah, who's in the other room, feels the need to get up and take a picture behind me. I don't know if she's taking the picture, and she has no idea what's going on with me. So when she takes the picture, there is a shadow of a little kid standing behind me.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's hard to catch.
That's one of the that's one of those wow moments, you know. So yeah.
When you get different pieces of equipment and or pictures or experiences all at the same time confirming the activity.
You're going to have to send us all this stuff. I'm all excited now.
She brings so much excitement back into it. I love it. By all means, it's so cool to see.
Okay, so we're actually at an hour, so let's do our. I've enjoyed this show. I could go on forever, but I don't want to. I don't want them to kick me out of the network. So I guess I'll try to. But next year we're actually moving up an hour. We're actually going to be at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. So I don't run into other people's shows because I've done that almost every episode. So like I was saying earlier, the lightning round, the first lightning round, we'll go over the different kinds of hauntings. I don't really like the term haunting because everybody looks at it as negative, but we'll go over the different kinds of activity there is, and you just give your opinions on it if you've experienced that kind of thing. So we always start out with a residual haunting. So I know we all understand what a residual haunting is, but I always like to explain it for anybody that don't know, any of the viewers that don't know or whatever. So a residual haunting is basically a recording of somebody doing the same thing over and over again. You know, there's no intelligence to it. For example, one of the places I've investigated over 12 times, it was the black African American, however you want to put it. It was a black hotel during segregation. So there's a few spirits there, but you know, one of the more famous one is just a residual. They assume it's Miss Maggie who owned the hotel. She was an interesting character anyway because she was a black business owner, and that just didn't happen in those times. She wanted to open it forever, but her husband was against it. So when her husband died, she used his name to open the hotel. But anyway, so for whatever reason, at 11:01 p.m. Central Time, Miss Maggie walks down the staircase. That's all she does, just walks down the staircase. Like I said, I've investigated there 12 times. I've only been, and every time I've investigated, we stop everything at 10:40 until 11:15 to see if we can capture it. I've only been able to capture it one time, but the good thing is, the one time that I did capture it, I was there with other people. We had a film crew from Belmont University with us, and we was able to capture it on video. So anyway, that's what a residual haunting is. So what are you guys' take on a residual haunting?
I have experienced that, and I would say pretty much the same thing. I used to live close to Civil War trails, so I had this one soldier that would come through every evening just about, and I could hear his keys, and he would just walk right past my room. He would never nothing, just walk past, and that was it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately people have gotten wrapped around residual being intelligent, and to me it's not. Again, it's the same thing you just said. It's an event that had taken place in the past, and when the environmental conditions are correct, it will replay itself, and it could be visual. You could see a ghost walk through a wall, and you look at the floor plans from before, and come find out there was a doorway used to be there. Stairs. We have so many clients that say, well, we always hear somebody going up the stairs in the evening time. And you know, it wouldn't matter if they whistle or anything else. Nobody's going to, it doesn't stop. You hear this, it's the same sound each time. So we've experienced those, got some really cool things from that. So I've got one clip from Revolutionary War. Really awesome. It was at a cemetery. So that's our take. That's my take. That's her take on residual.
Absolutely. I agree.
So next kind of haunting is an intelligent haunting. So I guess the best way to describe an intelligent haunting, and feel free to jump in, Rob, if you want to add or you have a better way to explain it. But intelligent haunting is actually a spirit that we can communicate with, whether it's verbally or just by the moving stuff, but we can have an intelligent interaction with it.
Yeah.
Correct. It knows its surroundings. It knows what's actually happening around. It knows before we do most often, that even before we get there. So it's intelligent, if you really want to put it, for it to know ahead of time what's going on. Even the questions we ask, we've all had questions where we go to ask the question, like in an ITC, and we've already got the answer already before we ask the question.
And our names, most of the time, they know our names before we even say our names.
We don't introduce our names, and they can tell us our names.
Yeah.
So yes, it's something that can interact to that level.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Those are intelligent.
So, like I was discussing earlier, what do you think about? For whatever reason, people's always considered residual the most common. So, like I discussed earlier, we had a guest several shows ago now that actually made a point that actually maybe intelligent hauntings are the most common because we actually get to interact with them, so we actually know that it's there. What's your guys' take on that? Or do you think residual is still the most common?
No, I agree with
would
that.
say
Most of us, when
intelligent.
we talk about evidence, we're looking for something. It's like when we're playing ITC. I use the Spirit Box. I love the SB7. I'm playing that, and when I
got the same
say,
one.
"What is her name?" and it comes out with Marie, and I'm not talking about something that doesn't make any sense.
crystal
And you're
clear.
trying to, when people are watching the live and they go, "Oh my God, I just said her name." You got several people, and we all hear her name be said. Something clear like that. Or I go ahead and I put up fingers, or I use the whiteboard. I love my whiteboard. I'll put a number 10 on it. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. And you get a 10 to come through. That's specific. That's interaction, so we can confirm. Whereas any other time, when most of us has been in the field for a while, we hear, at, hi, and it keeps on going through, and it doesn't make any sense to us. We dismiss them. Could it be residual? Sure, it could. But we dismiss it. We're more actively looking for. No different than when we see something moving and everything, we're trying to figure out how to interact with. So I'm not a big fan that residual is necessarily the most popular.
I don't think so.
Most likely to catch.
So the next kind is a malicious spirit. So let me start out by saying, I know I'm talking to the peanut gallery right here, but for the people that's watching that might not understand that there's a difference between a malicious spirit and a demonic spirit. So a malicious spirit is just angry, or they were just a dickhead to begin with. I like to say all the time, if somebody was a dickhead in life, they're going to be a dickhead as a ghost. So what's your guy? Are they, if they were angry, they're going to be angry in the afterlife. So that's a malicious spirit. So what do you guys think about malicious spirits?
I absolutely agree. And too often a malicious spirit is also something that people consider to be something more than what it is. And even a jokester, it all depends on the individual that's having it, is being messed with. If it's late at night and you're by yourself, a lot of people get tripped out a lot more than if you're with 6 or 8 people and something happens. You're like, oh, no big deal. It's your own personal mindset to it. But way too often people consider something to be even malicious. It's like somebody with abilities that can feel something. You go into a location where somebody's been hung, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, my throat is restricted. A lot of people will automatically claim there's something malicious attacking them. And that's not, usually they go to something even worse than that. It's because you could have that acute empathic connection and be feeling what's happened in the past to somebody. It's not even the same thing. But again, too much misinformation and too many people group it all as one.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I got 2 examples. The first one comes from, the first one is not an example. It's just a personal example. It's just a general example. So like you said, just because somebody grabs you or whatever, it doesn't mean it's malicious. So think about like an asylum. A lot of people that were at an asylum, some of them were deaf and mute, and they couldn't communicate. So a lot of times the way they communicate with people is they would grab somebody. So if you're at an asylum and somebody grabs you, they could just be trying to get your attention.
That's right.
So
yeah, I agree.
And then
Absolutely.
And then my personal experience, like you said, about the mischievous thing. So we were doing a residential, and they were afraid that there was the spirit there was a malicious spirit. So we sit up, we're doing all this stuff. So I start communicating with them using the spirit box. Like I said, I got the same one you got. So we're there, and the spirit starts communicating with us like within like 10 minutes. That was like the fastest response I've ever got. So we start getting there, and long story short, we come to find out, and we were actually able to go back and verify the backstory in the newspaper. So what ended up being, this was a 14-year-old teenager who had drowned, and he wasn't malicious, he was mischievous. So he was just picking on him. And he even told us that and that's even what he said. Because my question was, were the families afraid that you're malicious? And his exact words was, not malicious, mischievous. His exact term. And we'll come to find out, he drowned. There was a big flood there, and we ended up finding the newspaper article, 1898. There was a big flood, and he drowned with his mom and his stepdad, and that's actually what he said. He said mom and stepdad, and back in those days they didn't use the term stepdad. It was just your dad. So that was significant too. And he gave us his name, and we was able to match it in the obituary from that time.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next type is Chris's favorite. So how do you guys feel about demonic hauntings? So let me start out by saying, demonic hauntings are out there. So like
There we go.
Like we discussed earlier. I'm actually a trained demonologist and whatnot. So I'm not dismissing demonic hauntings, but what people have to realize, demonic hauntings are less than 1%. So what people have to realize, a demonic haunting was never human, so it's a non-human entity. So and in order to be possessed or whatever, you have to give them permission. Sometimes you can do it unintentionally, but they still have to have your permission. You can open a portal accidentally and get to there, but they don't haunt locations. They haunt people. They're there for a purpose. So anyway, demonic haunting, guys.
You want to start?
My own personal experience with that, I feel like my ex-husband was possessed by something demonic. I'm not denying that I'm honest.
You have to give it
because not just
there's physical
evil,
characteristics that you can see.
I
that change
saw
in the
his
human
eyes
body.
turn black. What else could that be? Why would his eyes turn black?
And when we're saying somebody, for people that aren't aware of this, when somebody's eye, we're not talking about the pupil just dilating, getting larger and whatnot.
Eye.
But where you see the whites of the eye, that actually literally disappears. We always hear the talk about the black-eyed children. Well, it's not black-eyed children that we're facing at that point that we see something like that happen. It will blow your mind. Right. I'm a little different. I definitely, as far as when it comes to the demonic, I certainly know, and again, you're right, it's never been human. It's been around much longer than we could ever imagine. Most people, we think of life of being up to 100 years. That is nothing for them by far. They've been around for an awful long time, and they've had plenty of time to watch us. Demonic to me is they are the master intimidator. Yeah. It's different than other types. They intimidate no matter who walks through the door, unless that person is gifted and has the ability or has oversight from somebody above or some power above to watch for them. But they target anybody who walks through the house could be targeted by far. They're also one of the only ones that can reach out from a location and actually influence. You make a connection by a phone. They can actually now influence that individual. A priest getting ready to go to a house. Well, all of a sudden that priest pulls over. He's sick. All kinds of things are happening. And he's just got that, no, I ain't coming. And that happens. And it's no offense. He now has become a target.
See, and now you saying that really creeps me out because I feel like where he got this attachment possession is the same location that I took Rob back to, where I was affected. My kids were affected. The smell, sulfur. Oh my God. Everything.
It was a great time.
Oh yeah, for him it was. But I'm glad I didn't know that at the time because I would have been, I don't know what, they probably had to check me.
Where was the demonic possession took place?
And it was at my old house that we actually got bought out by the Navy because they had to extend the runways. It was in Southern Maryland.
That was her husband was, and
that's why I feel like
he was actually there's oppression and then
he took a downward spiral when we moved into that house.
So you guys want to hear my demonic story?
Sure, absolutely, always.
Yeah.
So, I probably should call this. I probably should call it demonic. I still like putting the demonic term on it. But this is when I was living in Indiana. Like I said earlier, this is back in my pro MMA days. By the way, I did have a 13-1 record, so I was pretty good. But anyway, so 9 knockouts. So anyway, we were called to come investigate this place. The first thing to note, it was probably too soon to investigate it.
Exactly.
It was a murder suicide, and the murder suicide had only happened 3 weeks prior. But we got a call from the in-laws, and they asked us to come investigate it. So the backstory is, it was even documented in the police report and everything. The backstory was the husband had lost his job and became depressed, and he started fiddling into devil worship, black magic, and all that stuff. So he ended up becoming insane and killing the kids, his wife, and then committing suicide. So we go to try to find some answers for the family. Like I said, probably way too soon. So first of all, getting to this location was like a scene from a Stephen King movie. We had to go underneath the famous. We had to go underneath the famous crying baby bridge. You know, the one where the mother supposedly pushed the baby over. Yeah. So we had to go underneath it, and then when we got to the location, it's a candy corner from the house, 80 feet away, was an abandoned cemetery from the 1800s.
Oh wow!
So we get it was freaky. So my spidey sense was going off the whole time, and so we get there, and the neighbors had decided to try to knock down the house on their own. So we had to crawl through the attic window to get to the first floor. So we get there, and all the police tape's still there. There's still blood there. It's just really freaky. So obviously, me being me, I'm attacked. I start getting attacked as soon as I go in.
Yeah.
So I do want to say, I do want to backtrack a little bit and say I do a prayer of protection and communication before I start an investigation, because like we said earlier, safety first. So, I do a prayer of protection before I begin any investigation. So we get there, and like I said, we're getting crazy stuff. So we get to the kids' bedroom, and because he killed the kids in their bedroom. So we get there, and that's a crazy experience. The kids are kind of still there. We're able to help them cross over. And my theory on that is, kids don't cross over as easy as like adults do, because they just don't understand the process. We've all heard, to go to the light, to cross over. We don't procure kids for that, because we don't figure they're going to pass away, that young. So that's kind of my theory. So we help the kids. We get to the master bedroom, and it's freaky. We locate a journal, from the father, where he's taking notes about praying to the demons, and stuff. It's creepy stuff. So then we come across a square cutout in the carpet inside the closet. So we peel it back. We have to peel back the carpet and the padding. And soon as we peel it back, there's a pentagon right there in the closet. So I'm being affected. I actually vomit.
Yeah.
Right there. And that's if I've ever investigated a demonic location, that was it. I had to do a cleansing when we got back outside. I mean, we always do a prayer of attachment anyway. So we did the prayer of attachment. I mean, but I even had to, I had to do the dragon blood and cleanse myself and everything, So that's my demonic experience.
Body telling you you're in the presence of evil. That's your body triggered, and a lot of people get extremely nauseous. A lot of people that especially are, whether they're with the clergy or whether they're gifted, that's a very common thing, is for them to start throwing up, and that's when it's telling you that's you going, I'm not supposed to be here. That's your trigger.
That's crazy.
And we just froze up for a minute.
Yep, he froze.
Yeah, you're back. I tell Chris, just hope you never see one, because that's not really something you can't be afraid of it. Like Chris said, he's not afraid of it. I actually know a team. That thankfully they don't do residentials anymore. But when they did residentials, that they wouldn't go to any house they thought would have a malicious spirit or demonic spirit. I'm like, you can't do that. I'm like, we're paranormal investigators, paranormal researchers, whatever term you want to use. Our job is to go in and help the family, get them answers. So if we're afraid of it, they're going to be afraid of it. Like you said, Rob, earlier, maybe they can't help them, but they need to be able to pass it on to somebody who can. They can't just be like they can't just be like you on your own.
Yeah,
I have more respect for somebody. Unfortunately, right?
Many times, yeah.
It's I'm a little different as far as on the location of me. Can people be targets as far as for the demonic? But the demonic is there. The presence, the energy is in the location. The attic, the basement seems to be its control point, because not too many people go there. At locations that have demonic activity, that's one of the characteristics, is there's going to be something about the basement or the attic. And if you don't cleanse it all, you don't get rid of everything, not just go into four corners like Harry Potter, you ain't getting rid of it. I'm sorry. But it waits. That's why some families can live in a location and they're not the right ones that it's waiting on. Then you get this next family moves in, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and just turmoil goes, because there wasn't somebody who was really super weak-minded that fit the bill for what that demonic energy was waiting for.
Yeah, people. And you can make it worse if you. If you're not the right person, you don't do it the right way, you're gonna make the situation worse. So that's like Joe Frankie said last week, week before last. You always you have to be educated. I'm not necessarily saying like PhD any of that stuff, but you have to keep learning. We all said that earlier. Like you were saying about the attic and basement. We did a residential in Union City, Tennessee, and it was a crazy case. So we got a lot of activity in the basement, but for whatever reason, the entity, and it ended up being a very, very, I won't say demonic, but it was a very malicious spirit. The backstory of the spirit, we was able to verify through history and stuff. He was once a preacher that ended up becoming a child molester, and he was haunting this location, specifically the 10-year-old girl that lived there. That was his main target. Yeah. So anyway, we finally get it trapped, if that's the term you want to use, in the attic. That's where it wanted us to go. Well, you have to realize this is not a finished attic. This is basically like a crawl space. And I'm not a small guy. I'm 5'10", 220, mostly muscle, but me crawling around in a crawl space with very little flooring, it was not my ideal. But I'm there to help the person, so I get up there, and so I'm up there, and for whatever reason, like we discussed earlier, the spirits decide how they want to communicate with us. This spirit, he decided he wanted to use the flashlight. That's what he wanted to use. So I'm great with that. So we start using the flashlight, and I do some tests to make sure that we're actually communicating, and he's just not just playing with us. So so finally, we finally get him. We tell him that he's not, that's now that family's property, and in the name of Jesus, not me. I'm not the one that's powerful enough to make him leave, but in the name, you can't be here anymore. So that being able to help that family was probably like my highlight in my career, if that's the term you want to use, in my 32 years of, because that girl was being tormented. And the spirit wasn't even staying at the house. The spirit was following her to school.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
And making her, So that was probably demonic. So anyway, I have a couple more questions. We're over time, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. It's my show. So the next question, we've kind of talked about, ITC, spirit boxes. We discuss a lot on this show. Usually it's Damien that asks him, but he's not with us today. So we always see for whatever reason, for the most part, spirits communicate using English for whatever reason. So my theory on this is, I'll give you my theory, guys, and then you can give me your theory. So my theory is, what people have to realize is, the scientific explanation of the way spirits communicate with us. They use radio waves to communicate with us. So, obviously, for the most part, radio waves around here are in English. So if they're manipulating the radio waves, they would be speaking in the language of the radio waves. So that's why we get it in English. And also, the device is the one that's translating it. So if it's set to English, obviously it's going to translate it in English. So that's my theory. What do you guys think?
I would have to agree. I mean, sometimes you get like on recordings, EVPs, accents or different language that way.
But to the point is, I do believe, and we just talked about this recently, it's language is universal on the other side. I truly believe that. It whether I'm dealing with a Native American spirit, they are able to perceive what my intent is. They get it. Somehow or another, they're getting it. I believe anything that's low voltage can be manipulated. That's why your cell phones, that's why your apps and everything else really can be very specific and actually call out your name. I'm talking about something very specific. I usually wear a cross. I say, what is this? And you get necklace or cross. That's specific. When they can do that, that's showing you the manipulation they can have. They're reaching out to you, in your language when in that type of interaction, they're going to use a language that you can understand. But no matter whatever background it is, whatever religion it is, or like I say, Native American or some other foreign body, they've been able to communicate so far.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
If they want to communicate, they will.
Yeah. Yep. The argument. So you're talking about that. What we have to realize is, the spirits are operating on a different dimension than we are.
Yes.
So they can communicate however they choose to communicate. So so do you guys think spirits, like if the spirits from different periods of time, do they know that do they know if they're at the same location? Do they know the other one's there? Can they communicate with the other one there, or are they just operating on a different plane? What's your guys' take on that?
I think, have we asked them that before? Sometimes
I've been through both.
Yes and no.
Correct. We've had both in all sincerity, and we've had reactions that are different from one to the next. We've had negative energies that have, and not necessarily demonic, but have held other people from a different time frame back, energies from crossing. When you find out, it's not uncommon. Even right here at the house, we can turn on a spirit box, and how long does it take before you start hearing help me, Robert, help me? It's crazy. I mean, it's like it's twisted. It's like, what the hell? But there's a reason for everything. So there is some interaction, but at other times, we can pick up on something here, and yet even if we ask questions about it, we don't get any response for us to know. It's just kind of like a medium that will pick up, not all mediums are going to pick up the same thing at the same location. They'll be tuned into different frequencies, different dimensions, whatever you want to have it as.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been asked by a spirit to leave a location because my energy was too much for it.
Wow. Yeah.
I can understand that.
Because that definitely, they pick up on that.
That, or if you have an energy that it's like a negative energy doesn't care about most people who walk through the door. But then when that one person walks through the door that's connected to whatever higher power that can make a difference, it's amazing to watch somebody in that house suddenly, because they have an acute connection to that negative energy in the house. They will suddenly become very anti towards that person. And it happens.
I've seen that one.
I experienced that, the location I was just talking about. So what people have to realize is, any place can be haunted. It doesn't make what difference if the place has a history or not. That's our job, is to find out the history and why it's haunted. So we go to this place, and to me, this is a place that there's no reason for it to be haunted. So it was a mobile home, a trailer, whatever you want to call it, out in the middle of nowhere. But the backstory was that the daughter was murdered during a drug deal, whatever, blah, blah. So anyway, so we get there, and for whatever reason, and I have a lot of energy. and it's like a positive energy. So and so the mother, she's the one who causes. She starts attacking me from the beginning, and I'm like, I'm here to help. And then, like I said, the spirit that was actually the entity that was actually there doing the haunting or whatever, it actually told the guy that was with me for me to leave because he didn't want to communicate with me.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
very common of an entity actually doing that. Yes.
Yeah, because they know you're going to get rid of them because you know you get the power.
And I did.
That individual, her daughter, when we had the issue, I mean, her daughter, she's in the back seat right behind me, and she started screaming, "I'm feeling homicidal," which is not something she would say. I didn't even know she knew the phrase. But I started. I knew who she was mad at.
And I was like, "Who, Rob?" And she's pointing at Rob.
But it happens at so many locations when you go to treat a location that somebody, at least one, sometimes it gets to be more, will start, and they know the normal person that knows that you're there to help them, but this anger comes over them and they don't realize it's not them. Yeah. They're feeling what it is doing.
Right.
Big difference.
Yes.
We got 2 more questions, guys, so stay with us. So the next question is kind of like a moral question, I guess. So as we all know, thanks to Sam and Cody, most locations that we go on, most locations that we, yes, I said that. It's my show. What are they going to do? Fire me?
My kids love it.
So Damien, you guys know Damien, right? So Damien has the best. So I was told by one of my good friends that Sam and Kobe are the boy band of the paranormal world.
Yeah.
Damien says no. There's the Spice Girls of the paranormal field. So anyway. So moving along, Sam and Kobe's had enough time for my show. So moving along. But what I was saying is, so most locations you go to now, you have to sign like a 3-page waiver.
Yeah.
And I was specifically told by 2 locations, specifically told the reason that they had that waiver was because of Sam and Cody. Specifically told that. So my point is, in a lot of these waivers you sign, they tell you that you're not allowed to cross over a spirit. So my question is, do you feel it's our responsibility if a spirit wants to cross over to help them cross over? I mean, with that being said, I want everybody to understand a spirit can cross over whenever they want to. We're not the one crossing them over. They have that ability whenever they want to. Sometimes they need a little guidance, and sometimes they need a little push. But do you think it's our responsibility to cross a spirit over, to help a spirit cross over if they want to cross over? Or do you think we should, or do you think we're obligated by that piece of paper? What's your guys' take on that?
I definitely have my view. Go ahead.
I think if the spirit is really and for sure they want to cross over, then yes, cross them over. Yes.
I think it's absolute, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it anyway, absolute bullshit for anybody to want to hold a spirit back.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Not all spirits know exactly how to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And this is my opinion about it. My perspective of it. The Grim Reaper. What is the Grim Reaper? Is it who is actually creating the death? Is it actually who comes and kills you? And that's what kind of gets into it. You got the guy with the sickle, and here comes the Grim Reaper. You're dying, for God's sake. Sorry, no, that's not. He's your ticket, and he's just an icon. Yeah. How many times out of hospital does 86-year-old man who is at the end of his rope goes, "Mama," and he's reaching out like a kid, like a child, "Mama," and then next thing you know, he passes.
That's true.
That icon, the Grim Reaper, whatever, has come to escort him to the other side. Somebody is going to guide him to the other side. What we're doing when we cross, I truly believe in crossing. When we cross somebody over, all we're doing is trying to bring in extra help to hopefully lend them a hand and help show them the way. With children, we have to break it down even more, and it takes longer to try to. We can't make a spirit go. We can't do that. All we can do is try to open up their options, explain to them, ask for forgiveness, because some people have done really bad stuff and they're scared now that they opened up the door. And guess what? There is something else after death. Holy shit. Now that means they have to own up to whatever their to whoever.
Yeah.
So you can explain things to them, and we've had plenty move on from there. And then the location goes flat. The people with business, I had one person do that before we got there. I didn't know anything about this. We get there, and all of a sudden at midnight, this guy's got this paperwork, and you can't do this, you can't get rid of that, you can't do. We had this little girl out back who was just, and I had a couple of extremely talented people with me. They're like, she is just adamant she wants to leave. Yeah, good luck. I bet you ain't got her there no more. Sorry. That's your luck, man. I ain't worried about it. What do you give me?
If I know spirit wants to go be cross, of course I'm gonna. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't.
Didn't cross them. A higher power, crossed, right?
It wasn't me.
Question.
Show them the light.
Question. Was that girl begging to leave that place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I would.
There was no doubt.
Yeah.
I had
That
two
happens a
people that I would have bet my life on anything they said, just because, especially one of them had proven herself so many times. But to have two different people, not even in the same, we do the rotation. You have a group out here investigating, another group. They don't talk to each other unless there's something extremely, serious that you have to let somebody know for a safety reason. And they're both picking up and coming to me. And, we after a couple investigations, they come to me and they're both in my face telling me the same thing. I'm like, all right, hold on. We're going to make a change right here. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't
So
know
I
why
completely
they.
agree with you guys.
To be honest with you, I don't know why they put that on a piece of paper. Don't cross
They
over
don't
spirits.
want people to go ahead and take away their moneymaker. Their moneymaker
Yeah.
is activity at a location.
Yeah.
If that spirit is making activity, or people go, oh, there's a young girl here, that's creating that money for them.
Yeah.
Look, there's plenty of spirits that can come and go.
Yeah.
There's plenty of transitional that are moving around this earth. They're around us all the time. But these individuals want to hold that spirit there. No, I'm sorry. You ain't worth spit at that point.
No, you gotta let that spirit go.
Yes.
Completely agree with you guys. So yeah. So here's a story to go along with what you were saying, Rob, about the spirits. They a lot of times it's a wake up call when they're dead, because like you said, some of them either didn't believe that there was something afterwards, or some of them just believed that they had a long time before they had to worry about that. So we were investigating this. It was a street, okay, it's a road, and they kept getting reports of basically two spirits, and the backstory ended up being there was a really bad wreck there 5 years before, and it killed they were teenagers, and it killed them. It was a fatal accident. So the girl and the boy. I'm 50, so if you're a teenager, you're a girl and a boy. So the girl and the boy, they both roamed the streets, but they didn't know they were there. So the first one we made in contact with was the girl, and she told us straight out that the reason that she was still there was because she wanted to. She didn't want to cross over until her boyfriend crossed over. His name was Mike, by the way. So she didn't want to cross over until Mike. So part of my team kept talking to her while I tried to find Mike. So we finally made contact with Mike, and he was actually upset. Anybody that says spirits don't have emotions or full of shit. So he was actually upset. And you could even hear what sounded like sobbing, not crying, but actual sobbing from him.
Yep.
He was upset. He was upset that she was still. Her name was Jennifer. He was upset that Jennifer was still there because he assumed that Jennifer had crossed over. And he actually told us, he's like, you have to tell Jennifer to cross over because I'm still here because I'm going to hell and I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot of weight for somebody. Again. Why we look at people on the other side being any different than we are, it is amazing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I was able to explain to him, thankfully through my, Bible degree and my demonology, I explained to him biblically that, he has a chance to make answers to his before judgment. So, but anyway, so that's my story. Everybody ready for the final question? Can we get a drum roll?
Oh,
So,
You'll knock my connection out.
Yeah, we've done that.
So here's the final question, guys. So if you had, what's your one piece of advice you would give to somebody wanting to get into the paranormal field? What's your one piece of advice?
You want to go first?
You go first. I went first every other time.
No, that's fine. If they're serious about getting into the field, I'd honestly have to warn them about the drama. It's worse than anything they'll deal with in general. Most likely run into just the stupid drama in this field. It's like there's no reason for it.
Yep.
There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people that are jealous and people that are going to take shots on you. You water on a duck, man. Let it roll off. Just move forward. Keep doing.
You know what you should tell them? Deal with it and walk away. That's all you have to say. Deal with it and walk away.
There's a lot, though, that there's unnecessary things that happen for no reason. These clicks and this person doesn't like this, that person for no apparent reason. It's just ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah, integrity. Integrity, man. Keep
my
integrity.
advice would be treat spirits exactly how you would want to be treated.
Beautiful.
Because you people go in there, they're disrespectful, they demanding, they're supposed to be there for just to communicate with you. That's just you can't do that.
Chris, what about you?
I don't know. It all depends.
Okay.
I'm a laid back person. I don't really care. So.
Okay.
It all depends.
What would you say? What would be your one piece if you could say something?
One piece, trust your instincts.
Love it. Love it.
I like that one too.
So
I do like trusting things, so.
I lied and I said that was the last question, but I got one more because I ask it every show, and we've kind of. Hey, I got integrity. I admit it. I lied. So I ask this question every episode, and we've talked around it so much. I think we just need to get it out there. So the question is, I actually call this my Chris question because I dedicate this question to Chris every week. So why do you guys think there's so much drama in the paranormal field nowadays?
Jealousy, mainly. That's my jealousy, and just I don't know. People just love drama. I guess.
I think there's a bigger tilt to society. Something else is much larger at play. We've seen a lot more things that in our days, man, 20 years ago, we would have never imagined our society being the way it is and the views that people actually openly carry now. And, it's like these 99 different sexes. Give me a freaking break, for the love of God. I'm sorry. No, stop. You can be you. That's fine. God. But there's a bigger thing at play, and I think a lot of it has to do with sinister. I really don't believe that everything's 100%. We want it to be on a positive course, but I think there's a lot of negative, and it influences people. We didn't have nearly the number of people that are your terminology for your ex.
Which one? Narcissist?
Narcissist.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we did not. A narcissist was not very common, but my God, it seems to be the most common thing now. And you watch how things happen with them, and you start watching up. There's some other influences at play. I'm a big believer in that. Yeah. And I think it messes with people's mindset. Jealousy is always going to be there. That's not going to change. It's always been a factor of human nature. Again, it's not going to change. But to the degree that it's out, it's unfortunate.
So to me, there's two main factors. So like we was discussing earlier, Rob, I'm not leaving you out, Marie. It's just me and Rob are old timers. So we're OGs in this field. So like I was discussing earlier, there's been a lot of changes in the field in my 32 years of investigating. The main thing is when I first got into it, and I'm sure it's the same for you, everybody was actually about the field. They were about making the field better. It was actually, and then the other thing, it's kind of a funny thing, but it's true. So nowadays, we tell everybody to make sure that they don't trespass. They have permission. That's what we tell people nowadays. Back 32 years ago, when I first started, the saying used to be, if you're not at least investigated for trespassing, you're not a real investigator. So those are kind of things.
I'm I'm down for all that. I won't break it anywhere. He won't, but I will.
So
I know he'll get me out.
we could do this show for a week, I think, guys. But to me, the drama is kind of a twofold thing. The first part of it is money. You know, some people get into this field to make money, and if you get into this field to make money, you're in the wrong field. I mean, I probably lose more money than I make. I'm not even joking. No joking on that. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. And you know, and if you want to get into the spiritual, biblical sense of it, you know, the most misquoted verse in the Bible is the love of money is the root of all evil. That's not actually what the Bible verse says. What the Bible verse actually says is the lust for money is the root of all evil. So you know, the people that get into anything because for the lust of money, that's going to bring drama. And the other thing is, and this was actually explained to me by Sarah, but it makes sense. The other thing is there's some people that's worried about their place in line. You know, they're worried about being a celebrity or whatever. As we know, that's not me. I've been told today I didn't even consider myself an expert, so that's definitely not me. You know, everybody's worried about their place in line. That's not me. I'm here to help anybody, especially if you're somebody new coming along, like we discussed earlier. You know, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to train you the right way to do things. You know, and that's the way it should be. So to me, those are the two things that bring drama to this field.
Yeah.
So the you know, my closing statement is we need to investigate the dental house together, and then and then in closing, tell everybody how to get a hold of you guys. Tell them what you got going on. Tell them when your podcast is on. You know, just tell them what you got going on, how to contact you, all that fun stuff.
Beautiful.
He's the one for that one.
Again, we're Elite Paranormal Society, so you can definitely catch us on Facebook. We do have YouTube, but honestly, I haven't updated in a couple of years, unfortunately.
We need to get on that.
We'll work on that by all means. Our show is regular. We do a regular talk every Sunday at 4 o'clock. This Sunday, you can actually catch us at 4 o'clock, and then we're going to be on with Pac-Man Paranormal at 8 o'clock on the Get Haunted platform. Of course, we'll be sharing out to ours as well. Plus, we have a store because we do build plenty of different equipment and whatnot, between the lanterns and bells and all kinds of REM pods and toys and stuff for the children and other spirits. You can go to our Etsy page at 24elite.etsy.com. That's 24elite.etsy.com.
And of course, you guys can hit us up on Facebook. That's what I use Facebook all the time. My kids call me old because that's all I know how to use. But
you know what I've always wanted as a REM pod, Rob? I've always wanted to take an Echo One. Yeah. You know the Ghostbuster call.
Somebody has one. Somebody already has one out there. We took it a step further.
It's probably overpriced.
It's got a little bit of price tag to it. It's not horrible, but I have seen one out there, honestly. But we've actually built RC cars. So if we find an Echo RC car,
that's cool.
You can drive it down to it, and it doesn't interfere. You can drive it, and it's still a REM pod. So if somebody tries to touch it and it lights a light up, there you go.
Still haven't done the one idea. Turn a drone into a REM pod so you can fly it around.
We got to work on that.
we have a location that we investigate regularly. You know, it's like an ongoing investigation. One of the spirits there is a 10-year-old boy, so that would be perfect for that place.
Yeah.
I tell you another thing that I always thought would make a good REM pod is a titty rock spin. Could you imagine a titty rock spin as a REM pod?
Talking about my childhood now. You just lit something up on me. Oh my gosh, because that was my favorite toy.
We have so many characters. She builds the cats. We've got
I love that thing.
Which one is that over there? The red one.
Elmo?
We got Elmo. I mean, we've got so many that we just.
Elmo would be cool.
We make so many. We got Mickey, Donald Duck, Goofy. We got all kinds. We use all kinds. Anything. Children's toys. I mean, we'll go and pick them up and make them into REM pods. Yeah. So that if they start to touch them or anything, they'll end up lighting up. Which is, that one's already been. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Slide up.
I'm going to find a Titty Rock spin and send it to you, Rob, so you can make me a rim pie.
I'm keeping it if that's the case.
If you find one, we'll build it out for you and send it back to you.
Oh,
I'm going to find one. We're going to make this happen. This is going to happen, Rob. You be ready. This is going to happen. So anyway, we are way over time. You got anything, Chris?
Nope.
All right. So our guest next week is the human Ouija board, Damian Smith. So tune back in next week. Rob and Marie, thank you for being on the show, and we will. I can't wait to see how good a relationship continues to grow. Rob, you're already my brother. So all right, guys. See you guys later.
Your souls here. For sure.
Thank you so much. We're honored, man. Thank you so much, guys. Chris,
Nice.
Kent,
Thank you for being on.
Artlist
Thank you, guys. We will see you later.
Hey, we appreciate it.